Welcome back to Animal Hospital. Hold on, let me clear this mimic first. That's right, chat. In today's video, I'm going to show you all the anomalies in the game and how to defeat every single one of them. There are many dangerous monsters in this hospital, from basic mimics that simply bare their teeth and chase you, to the ghosts you can't even see to run away from, and even the bed monster and don't look up entity, which are completely impossible to destroy. However, they are not invincible. Some of them require advanced weapons like guns or tasers, while others simply require you to know when to back away and where to look to get past them. So, what kind of anomalies are in here? How do we handle them? Let's find out right now. Let's start with the most common anomaly that walks through the front door, which is the mimic. This creature tries to blend in with your regular patients by taking on their appearance. However, you can easily identify it if you pay close attention to its face and its posture, as it always has something weird on its face and walks around with a very distinct hunched over back. If you are ever in doubt, you can also verify its identity by checking the security cameras or taking an in-game photo of it, which will instantly reveal its true form. If a mimic manages to catch you, it will attack, forcing you to fight back, which costs you a massive amount of your sanity. Even worse, if it attacks a real patient, they will either panic and run away, or even worse, eaten on the spot, resulting in your hospital points being deducted. So to handle a mimic like a real pro, you have to choose your strategy based on your current gameplay goals. If you are planning to farm animal coins, your best bet is to prevent the mimic from ever being there in the first place. On the other hand, if you are doing a fast speed run or just playing for fun, you can use some of these incredibly cheap and cost-effective tricks to unalive them. All you have to do is deliberately give the mimic the wrong medicine, which is the easiest and most budget-friendly way to put them down. If the mimic is already awake and walking around, you will have to use your gun or your taser to shoot and eliminate it. But if you find yourself completely unarmed, you can simply stand back, let the mimic go bite a real patient first, and then run in to help the patient once the monster is locked in its attack animation. This way, you might lost a patient, but at least your sanity won't go down too much. While dealing with mimics is a constant struggle, during the early shift, your run will introduce a completely different kind of roadblock at the reception desk. The second or third shift is when the Headbanger makes his entrance, and he is a very abnormal patient with pitch black eyes. He will walk up to the reception window and start aggressively slamming his head against the glass over and over again without stopping. While he is active at the window, he will completely block the desk's roller shutter, meaning you cannot close it to deny any anomalies. If you make the mistake of trying to force him away from the window with nothing in your hands, you will instantly trigger a terrible jump scare that takes away 20 points of your sanity, which is not a very pro move. To handle the Headbanger safely, you have two choices. One is to simply do nothing and let him bang his head for about 1 minute, after which he will get bored and walk away on his own. And two, a much faster option is to use a cup of coffee to invite him to leave, which safely clears the reception window without any risk of a jump scare. But keeping patients alive is not always as easy as handing out coffee, and when a patient inevitably dies, a much creepier phenomenon will spawn. This brings us to the ghost, which is a transparent spirit that only rises after a patient dies in the hospital. Patient deaths can happen if you give them the wrong medicine, if a wandering monster bites them, or if you throw a passed out patient straight into the trash can. Once the ghost spawns, it has the ability to turn completely invisible and fly freely through the hospital walls. If you accidentally walk into it, you will immediately trigger the ghostly presence effect, which drains your sanity by 2 points for every single second you remain in contact with it. On top of that, the ghost loves to open closed doors and constantly disturb you while you are trying to work. The absolute best way to deal with the ghost is to prevent it from ever spawning by keeping all your patients alive, but if a patient does die and a ghost is already flying around, you need to use a very specific two-step strategy to eliminate it. First, you must grab a fire extinguisher and spray the area to coat the invisible spirit, which reveals its exact position. Once the ghost is visible under the fire extinguisher spray, you can pull out your gun or your taser and shoot it to destroy it permanently, ending the constant sanity drain and keeping your run stable. Once you learn how to handle the floating spirits, you still need to watch your back for physical entities that ambush you directly from the walls of the hospital. This is the Hider, a paper-thin creature that disguises itself by blending perfectly flat against the walls, and they almost always travel in groups. When you walk past their hiding spot, they will suddenly rush out to chase you down. If a Hider manages to hit you, its primary effect is to steal whatever item you are currently holding in your active slot. If you happen to be walking around completely empty-handed, they will instead touch you and instantly drain 10 points of your sanity. To counter these annoying paper monsters like a pro, if you actually want to destroy them, you can use a gun or a taser, but that wastes expensive ammunition. The most cost-effective way to unalive hiders is to use your fire extinguisher to spray them down, which takes them down instantly and keeps your ammo count high. While hiders jump out from the walls of the corridors, other entities prefer to lurk right under your patient's beds, waiting to drag you down. This is the bed monster, and you can easily identify its presence by looking under the beds to spot its 2 glowing red eyes and 2 insanely long, creepy arms. If you step too close to a bed where it is hiding, those long arms will grab you and drag you straight down under the mattress. This initial grab will instantly take away 10 points of your sanity, and if you stay trapped under there, it will continue to drain an additional 5 points of your sanity every 2 seconds. The bed monster is also capable of grabbing the patient sleeping on that bed, and if it succeeds in pulling them under, the patient is lost and your hospital points will be deducted. Fortunately, there are 2 highly effective strategies to bypass the bed monster without putting yourself in danger. The first method is to treat the room like a platforming obby and simply jump directly onto the patient's bed, as the monster's grab range only covers the red area. The second method is to hold a jar of maple syrup or any spare human organ in your hand when you approach, which forces the monster to grab the item out of your hand instead of pulling you under. But if you think the floor is the only place hiding dangers, you are completely wrong, because the ceiling can also turn against you without warning. This is the mass eyes or don't look up anomaly, which looks like a giant red mass of flesh covered in blinking eyeballs banting on the ceiling of a room. Whenever this anomaly appears, a large warning message will pop up on your screen that says, "Don't look up." If you make the mistake of tilting your camera upward to look at the ceiling, you will lose between 2 and 5 points of your sanity for every half second you keep looking. Dealing with this ceiling hazard is actually very simple, and you have 2 ways to handle it. If you want to look up at the ceiling safely, you can use eye drops, which completely stops the sanity drain while looking at the mass. However, a much easier and more effective recommendation is to simply keep your camera pointed straight down at the floor and ignore the ceiling entirely. As long as you keep your head down and focus on your feet, the eyeballs cannot hurt you, and the entire mass of eyes will automatically disappear once the shift ends. But keeping your head down to avoid the ceiling won't save you from the creepy creatures lurking at eye level in the corners of the rooms. This is the Stalker, which is a tall, shadowy black creature that looks like a giant rat and likes to hide in dark corners. Under normal circumstances, if you accidentally look directly at the Stalker, it will instantly take 10 points of your sanity and vanish into thin air. In the new update, however, this creature has been updated. After you finish your main conversation with Rathu, the Stalker will start appearing at the check-in area. This version of the Stalker will stand there and hand you an Animal Corp application form, and it will continuously drain your sanity over time until you find a way to deal with it. There is absolutely no 100% effective way to defend against the normal corner-dwelling Stalkers, so your only option is to walk slowly around corners and keep a sharp eye out. But for the persistent version that spawns at the lobby check-in desk, there is a very specific and unique method to eliminate it. The only way to deal with the lobby Stalker is to take a direct photograph of it. Once you hit that capture button, the creature will instantly teleport away. While navigating the physical rooms to avoid these Stalkers, you also have to be extremely careful when checking your security monitors. This is where you will encounter the camera figure, which is a pitch black shadow creature that looks like a cat with glowing red eyes and a mouth full of sharp teeth. This anomaly never appears in the actual rooms of the hospital. Instead, it only shows up on your security monitor screen. If you stay on a camera channel and stare at this cat figure for too long, it will trigger a sudden, loud jump scare right on your monitor screen and instantly take away 20 points of your sanity. Managing this camera threat is entirely about having fast reaction times and not zoning out while looking at the monitor feeds. The second you click on a camera channel and see those glowing red eyes staring back at you, you must quickly switch to a different camera or turn the monitor off completely. Doing this instantly resets the anomaly, allowing you to safely turn the camera back on and continue monitoring the hospital without any risk of getting jump scared. If you manage to survive the camera threats and the hallway anomalies, the final and most stressful test of your skills will happen when you are performing surgery. This is where you might encounter the Tendril, which is the rarest anomaly in the entire game. It is a purple mass of flesh covered in writhing tentacles that can suddenly sprout out of a patient while you are actively performing a surgical procedure. When this happens, it immediately triggers an emergency event with a very fast countdown timer on your screen. If you fail to remove the purple mass before the countdown timer reaches 0, the patient will unalive instantly on the table, resulting in a massive failure for your run. When dealing with the Tendril, you must absolutely never try to use your gun or your taser on it, as it will count into your hospital death count. The only way to safely remove this purple mass is to focus and successfully complete the surgery minigame according to the steps shown on your screen. By following the prompts carefully and completing the minigame without making mistakes, you can safely extract the Tendril, stop the countdown, and save your patient's life. And that's every anomalies in Animal Hospital, as well as how to deal with them. Did I miss any creatures, or do you have better method to deal with these guys? Let me know in the comment. But today's video is over. See you in the next one. Bye.